Welcome back, everyone. This is Elevated Duty Podcast. This is another week, another person,
another episode,
another interview, right?
Yeah.
So this week we have someone that comprises the other part of our battalion. You know, we have recruiting, but we also do retention.
Correct.
And as we mentioned before in multiple episodes already, there's a lot of people that join and they don't want to continue for some reasons, but we are like always emphasizing that they should stay and try something different, right?
Yeah, it seems like every podcast and interview that we do, it always kind of comes full circle towards the end. And we sit and talk with leaders throughout the force. And that's always kind of the last question is, why should soldiers continue to stay in the Colorado National Guard? And so with us, if you'd like to do the introduction.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast, Sergeant Bermudez.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. This is the first time ever doing this, so the first thing that comes to my mind is like the part of, was it Ricky Bobby when he first does his first interview? He's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So,
Talladega Nights.
Yeah. Talladega Nights. I was like, what do I do?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, Sergeant Norcross is an expert with that. You know, he has flipped.
I got to watch out for coffee mugs. Now I got a helmet to watch out for, cords.
Yeah.
But welcome, Sergeant. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's pretty good what you guys are doing here.
Thanks.
So before we go through that rabbit hole of what is retention and specifically under the aviation unit, that's why you have the helmet there. Who is Sergeant Bermudez, and where you're from? What's your background? Where you were born, raised?
So I was born and raised in Lamar, Colorado. So I'm a native. I've been here my entire life. Graduated. I did a split op when I first joined and went to basic training during my junior year, my summer junior year.
Yeah.
And then got back, had like a week off, and then went back to school. Then graduated. And the following week after my graduation, I went straight into basic training or AIT, and then that was it. And that was a field artillery for a while. I was an Alpha Battery, and then I moved to space, and then I moved to aviation, and now I work with recruiting retention as a retention NCO.
So that's 4 MOSs there?
I do have 4 MOSs, yes. So I have 74 Delta, 13 Papa, 15 Tango, and 15 Uniform.
And those that are not currently serving yet, and our viewers and listeners, can you explain what those MOSs mean?
So 74 Delta is like your NBC, NCO, basically chemical, biological, nuclear. 13 Papa was fire direction control for MLRS system. I believe now we have HIMARS, so I believe that's the 13 Juliet now. And then 15 Uniform is your Chinook helicopter, and 15 Tango is your Black Hawk helicopter.
Very cool.
That's great, and you've been all over then. I think the 3 biggest things we have here is infantry, artillery, and aviation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those 3 are very large, yes.
That's what I will say, like the biggest branches or like branches, because like we have other units, like MP is pretty big too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's the 4th. Probably I'm gonna
we'd have to pull up the numbers and see exactly. Yeah.
Some leadership will go, oh, we're the biggest one. Hey, I'm pretty new to the Guard, like specifically in Colorado, but as my knowledge supporting all those units, I think those 4 are the biggest ones.
Sure.
So Sergeant Bermudez, going back to your beginnings in the Guard, what made you join the Guard?
Going back real quick, so shout out to 89th Troop Command, and they have the 193rd, 519th Aviation, obviously, and I'm going to pause there.
That's okay. Yep, reset. 89 Troop Command.
It was 193rd, 519th.
First to 157th.
Infantry.
Yep.
Okay.
So they have all the large ones.
All right, retake. So we have so going back, 89th Troop Command, shout out, right? There's 519th, 193rd, the Infantry Battalion, and then Aviation as well. So just wanted to make sure we give a good shout out to all of them, because as retention NCOs and 169 and across all the MACOMs within the state, we do represent everybody, and we're here to support the entire force structure across the board. So there isn't one particular battalion that we will
favor more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a good way to say that. Although we are a little biased towards our battalions, especially like I'm aviation, so of course I'm going to support everything I can with aviation.
Sure.
But when it comes to the end of the day, it's all about retaining the force for Colorado Guard. So back to your question, what made me join? I don't know. I don't know why I joined. I really didn't. I didn't have any like reason to. I was just I'm looking back at my family lineage. Is my grandfather had fought in World War II, and he was in the Philippines, and that's about all I know. He wouldn't really talk much about it.
Okay.
And then, once he passed, all I had was that was my one example of someone in the military in my family, and so I decided just to pick up and carry on with what he did and join the military. And I've been National Guard my entire career, which has been great. Supported multiple missions across the state, and Hurricane Katrina and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But as far as joining, I just wanted something to do, and it was something completely different than what I was going to college for. It was something that I took it on as a hobby more than anything else. It was more just because.
Yeah.
And then I found out there's these things called benefits. You don't think about stuff like that as as 17
as a junior in high school.
Right? Like, what's retirement?
Yeah.
That's what old people think about. And now that I'm old, so I'm like, wow.
So a little bit of lineage and military history within your family. How did you come about, finding that split train option and finding the Guard itself here in Colorado?
So actually, it was word of mouth. I had a friend of mine that I was working with, and she had joined, and she was in I don't know exactly what unit she was in. The state did a reorg a while back, and so she ended up getting moved somewhere else. But she was telling me about it, and I just this kid at work didn't know anything different, and it just sounded really cool when she was talking to me about it, and so that's why I was like, why not give it a shot?
Yeah, we've seen word of mouth and referrals. That's a pretty large number, because obviously you trusted that friend of yours, and took the leap of faith, kind of through her judgment and her recommendation. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also got a friend of mine to join as well. So it was kind of that whole, telling one person tells another person. So very much aligns with the Jeep program that we have.
Yeah. Yes. Do you want to touch base on that really quick since you brought it up?
So Jeep is a program for all service members to essentially recruit. If you can get someone to join prior service or new to the Guard, you can earn, I believe right now it's $500. And the only caveat is you can't be 05 and above, and you can't work for retention or recruiting retention battalion.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Do we have a flyer? Can we pull up?
Yeah, we do.
A Jeep flyer.
We do. Let me.
Possibly. And while you're doing that,
see, I pulled majority of the flyers, and then all of a sudden I forgot Jeep. I know I have it down here. I reposted some on the stories, so
we've pulled it up before too.
Is down here.
It's funny, the information that keeps usually coming back when we sit down and we have podcasts, and it's all good information, but
no, it's nearby, right here.
Yeah, getting it to disseminate down to the lowest level. I'm sure there's still some soldiers within our force that aren't tracking entirely what the Jeep program is.
Yeah, and we try to push it out as much as we can. I talk about it basically every month. We did have a soldier, Sergeant Rojas. He was the first one in the Army Guard to get someone to join, and he, had his picture taken with the tag, and that was great. There's that moment right there. So it was nice to see, the program does work, and it does pay off, and it benefits both the soldier and the organization by doing so.
Absolutely.
So
there's a commander right there.
Yeah,
that's great.
There's a bit of a backstory with that one.
What happened? What happened?
Colonel Anga and Staff Sergeant Rojas. Apparently, Sergeant Rojas used to be on his soccer team that he coached.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Way back. So when he was a young kid, Colonel Anga was the coach of him.
Wow.
So that was a cool little story to hear.
Small world.
Right? But that all goes back to that word of mouth, and he sees somebody who he looked up to and was in the service, and then he followed those footsteps. And it's just all about like having that reach across the organization and representing yourself and your community. So it's really great to see how that works. As far as joining the Guard and how getting that word of mouth out is important.
So going back to the MOSs, because we emphasize this almost every podcast, is like if you think you're stuck and you think you feel that something is not for you, reclass. You've done it like 4 times already.
Yes.
So what was your first MOS, and what made you do the change to the second, third, and fourth?
So I was a 74 Delta as my first MOS, and I just wanted to do something kind of cool that was like chemical, biological stuff. I was kind of, I was really good at science, math, and stuff like that, so I thought it'd be really cool MOS. It still is good. It's just not as utilized as broadly as, I would have liked to have done. So I ended up switching to that, and being in our field artillery unit, it made sense to get a field artillery MOS. And so I just did that and switched over, went to another school. I was in South Dakota, Sioux Falls. And, went to this training there and got my 15P or 13P MOS. And, that's kind of the rest of the story. I say 15P because we do have 15 Papas in our battalion for aviation. So.
And then you went to aviation, right?
Yep.
How you made that change from artillery all the way up to...
So when the state did the reorg, I ended up going to 117th Space Battalion, and I wanted to do something with computers and 25 Bravo, cyber. That seems to be the way ahead at the time, which is still current and alive to this day. So we need 25 uniforms and 25 Bravos. So so with that said, like I just went there, wanted to do something different. I ended up getting promoted as an NBC NCO, and then applied for an AGR job, and I got it. So
during all the transitions and switching MOSs, we have current soldiers that we talk to within the force and future applicants that when they sit down and meet with a recruiter, one of their questions is, am I stuck? How easy is it to transition? Can you tell us your transition between MOSs and kind of what it takes to start and initiate that process? How long was the process?
Okay, so, I guess it really all just depends, right? And as far as, like, the needs of the organization, everything's about the needs of the Army. At that time frame, it was a little harder because, we're at time of war. Things were going on with Afghanistan, Iraq. And so, you really had a good reason to change MOSs, right? It was only to support those missions and stuff. Nowadays, it's a little easier to change MOSs because there's so many availability, and we need to retain our force. That's one of the things that we use is, hey, if you want to stay in, maybe you need to change of pace, maybe just a change of scenery, maybe you want to do something completely different, like, reason why some people join. That's just what we offer now, and the biggest thing is like never ever circumvent your chain of command. Always talk to your command teams, like regardless of what you're wanting to do, express your interests to your command teams and what it is you're trying to do, and why, and then pursue those goals. Otherwise, I've seen it go kind of bad, but for the most part, we don't really have those issues.
Sure.
So, but yeah, as far as changing MOSs, it's not too hard really nowadays. The other thing I like to emphasize is like schools too. There's the Mountain Warfare School, and then I also have like battle staff. So I went to that course as well. So there's other professional military education courses out there besides your basic, ALC, BLC, SLC kind of stuff, to help you progress and grow. And so yeah.
So now that you mentioned like there's schools available, and then and all that, we touched that last weekend, right? We were at the Buckley.
Mm-hmm.
We had our training for the retention NCO for the units, which I'm the new retention NCO for the MECPAT.
Oh, I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Yeah. I just got trained.
Good job.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that weekend, if one thing it got to me is like, it doesn't matter where the soldiers want to go. Like, it doesn't matter if he wants to go to active duty, it doesn't count against our numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, because even though he's going active duty, you are returning him on the force. And on top of that, you mentioned it doesn't matter if they want to reclass, try to help them, because then that will help them to stay, because you'll helping them with their career progression. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I try to break norms. So like a lot of the things, that's how we always done it, or is how it's always been. One of the biggest things I like to emphasize is soldiers don't have to wait till they're in their 1 year window to have that opportunity to move. I understand there's situations where there's MSOs when you have like service obligations and time frames. And of course it's always up to the command teams. But you want to try to find that balance where happy soldier, in the right environment, keeps that motivation to continue service. And sometimes what you join, I got 4 MOSs. I didn't think I was going to stay in field. I thought I was going to stay in field artillery forever, but I didn't think I was going to change, and I ended up changing multiple times. So you kind of find your fit, what your niche is, and you kind of go in those directions. So as far as moving around, I encourage it because it helps you grow and just get better and understand the organization better. It's a lot of what we do is like AGRs, moving around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and I will not say only that, the networking you get out of moving around, I think is for me is my favorite part of my job. Is like I get to meet people from all over, like 169, 89, all different units, aviation, artillery, infantry, MPs. So I think that's one of the biggest thing of moving around.
That is something I really enjoy about this as a retention NCO, is being able to work with all the other organizations within the state and meeting all these different, command teams and leadership. And it's really eye-opening to be able to go out there and like reach out and help somebody. I supported the 947th, shout out to them, back in December. And, it was awesome to see their mission and what it is they do. And I had a chance to meet some of those individuals and talk to them, offline on one-on-one basis and stuff. And they were super motivated, super into what they're doing. And that's what you want to see, right? As a retention NCO, as a leader, as you want to see your soldiers be engaged and want to be there. And it was really good to see, it's everywhere. It's infectious. And, I supported the 193rd with some stuff as well, and the 220th, and a lot of those soldiers want to be there. That's what good leadership is, when you get that. And most of our command structures, we have people that want to stay in our organization. It's just we have to incentivize them sometimes. And as retention NCOs, that's what we're supposed to do, is try to retain the force structure and retain quality, personnel.
Yeah. You touched on incentives for retaining. Can you briefly, without going too much in depth, talk about what's available for those? And I know you said you don't have to wait right now to be within that window.
Yeah.
But if a soldier's listening or they're watching and they say, hey, my time's coming up. I have maybe 2 years left, a year left. I'm thinking about continuing, and like you said at the beginning, we didn't know about the benefits or we didn't know about the incentives. What are some of those available to our soldiers right now currently? And I know it does change, right?
Man, there's so many, though. I mean, you want to talk about benefits to the Guard, or you were talking about benefits to extending? If we're talking right now, if you're in your 1 year window, 365 days, you're eligible for a $10,000 bonus for 3 years of service. And there's also, you do a 6-year contract and you can get student loan repayment as well. So if you were to do a 6-year contract, you get student loan repayment, and then since you did 6 years, you can also get that $3,000 or $10,000 3-year bonus on top of that. And we also have the GI Bill kicker, which most individuals do have the kicker already. You just have to kind of check their I-perms and stuff. And a lot of people have their post 9/11, so that kind of already, does more than
it adds
kicker,
on.
Yeah.
So I always recommend that individuals, the soldiers, go out and reach out to your VA office and talk to them. Their online for the VA is actually really good. VA sometimes gets a bad rap, but in reality, when I looked on their online stuff and I was going to school myself, it was great to see like how well organized their stuff was. And the reason why I say you reach out to the VA, because you can get to the day of how much benefit you have left. So not just getting like, you have 3 years. It'd be like you have 36 months, or you have 25 months, 6 weeks, or 4 weeks, and 3 days. Like, and that one day will count towards another month worth of benefits. So that is something that we try to educate and inform the force. So.
Yeah, can we pull that up? Can you explain deeper for those watching, and they can follow along if they need help?
Okay.
Do you want to go to VA benefits, or
you want this like
or do you want me to go to the one that Sergeant Lopez talk about the other day?
I'm not sure.
So there should be like just if you go to like the VA website,
because they have again on here they have the education services, and she has all the links here. So obviously this is Major Jackson, Staff Sergeant Lindsay Lopez.
Yep.
And then she has all the links down here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, and then you say go to VA, federal one, or the GI Bill?
Yes, the GI Bill. And you can see like post 9/11. It's kind of a small screen. But what it does is it explains in detail like everything you get, what your eligibility is, how to apply, and the way to use your benefits. The other thing I'd like to mention, and I mentioned this in our training that we did last week, was transfer of education benefits. I noticed that one hit pretty hard during the class, and there was a lot of questions about that.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, let's just skip to the next screen and start talking about it. Okay. But so that tab, they call it tab. So it's transfer of education benefits, and basically it's where you move, a month or two of your GI Bill to your dependent. What I try to spread the word is you have to have 4 years of service in order, like, remaining on your contract.
Okay.
So if you are, like, the day before you ETS, you extend for 4 years, you're not going to make that window because, 2 days later, by the time it updates, you're going to be 3 years and 360 days out or whatever. So I always recommend if you're kind of close or cutting it close or you're not sure, like, what that window looks like a 4-year, 1 month extension will get you in the window to be able to let everything update throughout all the systems, do your transfer of education benefits, and then allow your dependents to utilize that benefit. The thing with that is if you get out before you complete your 4 years, that's like on a voluntary basis, your dependents will actually be charged that would have to
the value of the benefit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one thing you mentioned that day on that training is that in order to transfer, like if you want all your dependents to get the benefit, you at least have to allocate at least a month.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was new. I was like, oh, I didn't knew that. So
Yeah,
that's good.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
So
no, you definitely have to allocate at least 1 month to every dependent that you have, and if you want them to be able to use it. So if you want to use your 36 months, go for it. But for instance, if you have a family of 4, right, you allocate 1 month to 3 of your dependents, and then yourself, right? So you will always have full access to the 36 months. And then you can allocate who you want to use your benefit from there. If you get out after serve your long career, retired, everything's all great, and your family has they got what they wanted or whatever, and there's still extra benefit, you can still allocate months towards your younger dependents. But if you didn't allocate 1 month to them,
Mm-hmm.
the military, they cannot change a 0 to a 1. They can change a 1 to a 2, but they can't change 0 to 1 because you didn't allocate anything to them during that service time frame for that 4-year commitment. So in order for them to be able to receive that, you have to allocate at least 1 month to each dependent.
And how would a soldier go about doing that?
Mail Connect.
Okay,
So you just go on Mail Connect, and it says transfer of education benefits.
perfect.
Mhm.
And then if
Very
you
good.
don't qualify, the VA will reach out and let you know.
Okay.
And it should tell you as well, like what you need to do.
So there you go. So if you have multiple dependents, go to
Mhm.
Milk Connect and make sure that they have at least a month by dependent, and you are in a window of more than 4 years,
Yes.
Yeah.
so that they don't get charged for.
It's a minimum 4-year requirement.
Yeah.
However, it's that time frame that it takes for things to update. So.
Sure.
So currently you are the retention NCO for the aviation, right?
Yeah, for the second 135th.
So for those soldiers interested to moving into the second 131st, what are the opportunities in aviation?
It's basically it's kind of wide open. We have a lot of vacancies for fuelers. We need 25 uniforms, which is a combo guy personnel, and 15 uniform, 15 tango, 15 papa. So 15 uniform tango, that's your Chinook and your Blackhawk mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Those have the ability to progress as through time and experience to become crew chiefs and fly and become air crew member and be part of the flight operations that go on within the battalion.
Mm-hmm.
So that includes anything from like hoists to water buckets to just flying missions and infill, exfil personnel, and just air crew coordination with flying in tight spots or depending on what your training is. So those MOSs, they all have a pathway, and then it goes back to some of what you were saying before with the whole being like kind of pigeonholed. Eventually, because there's only one aviation, I look at there's hats and all, but like hats is a different entity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because there's only one aviation battalion in Colorado, the growth is only from within that one organization. It's not like a 92 Yankee that can be picked up anywhere else throughout the state, because we have very specific MOSs, and that's across the board with most every battalion, unless you have those real generalized MOSs. But that's why I encourage like going out, getting that experience, and then moving to the next one. I talked to 15 papas who are flight operations, and and I talked to them like, hey, 25 uniform is a great way. You go do commo as a pathway to E7, and it's throughout the state. There's growth and like grow yourself by doing more.
Mm-hmm.
We're going out and seeking other opportunities. And so one thing I did do is I developed a list of every location throughout the entire state that has that you can retake the ASVAB, and so I provide that to all my personnel too. It's Fort Carson, Buckley, and all the other places in between. Same with our JFHQ as well.
Mm-hmm.
And pertinent information, study guides, links, all that stuff for testing, and just to give them the opportunity to study and progress and grow and better their scores. When I took the ASVAB, I was a kid in high school. I didn't know what the ASVAB was.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And in a small town, it's not like the ASVAB's talked about a lot, because it's a small town. We didn't have a recruiting station or guys coming out all the time, talking to us. Hey, you want to join the Army? It wasn't like that. And so when I went and took the ASVAB, I took it at MEPS, and I had no idea what I was doing. All I know is I was getting tired of the day, and I just wanted to finish. So I started clicking buttons. I did good enough to get in the door, but then I realized I needed to retake the ASVAB and actually take it serious, because I didn't know at the time how important it was.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I redid my ASVAB and got way better scores, and that's how I was able to do basically anything in the Army. So it's important to seek self-improvement for your career, not just military but civilian as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy. We mentioned that with Sergeant Dupuy too. I think he retook the ASVAB. I think I retook the ASVAB. I mentioned my story.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when I joined, I score 54. It's not bad still, but then it was only 105 on GT. So in order to go to public affairs, I needed 107, and they were not giving any waivers or to go to school.
Right.
So I needed to retake the ASVAB. So I'm like, if I score good enough, and then I want to go either OCS or warrant officers, then if I do it good now and I score over 110, I'll be happy, because I'll kill two birds with one stone. And then
Yep.
I retook it, and I score 80, and then my GT went up to 118. But again, I was on second year of college, and even though I was like, I just want to join, I was
Right.
I just studied 2-3 days before, and then that was it. It was not the same as I took it when I retook it, because I already have.
Yeah.
This is important, as you mentioned. It's like we take the ASVAB for granted, and then we don't believe how important it is. So, if you're willing to reclass and you need a higher GT score, or if you are a civilian trying to get in the Guard, try to get the high score or the highest score you can, so that you can get better opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yes. I absolutely always stress study before taking it.
Yeah.
And if you do retake it and you do worse, those are your new scores. So you don't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing. And it should be very much emphasized. That's why I always mention it every time I talk about this stuff, and even in the training that we had, just mentioning the importance of having those scores. And a lot of people focus on, the GT score, which is great. And you need 110 and above to basically do everything. But it's those other line scores that'll get people as well. In aviation, you have to have a score of 104, depending on the MOS. So 15 Tango, 15 Uniform. So I've seen it where personnel have had a 113 GT, but they didn't have the ST score
Yep.
high enough.
Yeah.
So it really does depend on those specific, those other parameters of the ASVAB score. So.
Yeah. So, that's something to get in mind. Just if you want something specific and you're willing, you're looking to an MOS specifically, 15 tangos or 15 uniform, just make sure you get at the requirements and you study hard for those parts.
Yeah. Reach out, talk to somebody.
And you get to retake it up to 5 times, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just Yeah, you gotta take it serious.
That's all
I got to say.
I didn't knew that either. Like I didn't knew you have like a five attempts.
Yeah.
I know. Like if you're going to join, if you want to join, and you take it at MEPS. What's the window? Like, what's the window to retake it again?
The first one will be 30 days.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember was because once you retake the ASVAB outside, once you join, it's not the ASVAB, it's
it's ACFT, I believe.
Yeah,
right.
AFQT or something like that. Armed Forces Qualification Test or something like that.
It sounds
something along those
right.
lines.
Yeah.
I have to pull it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same thing though.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same test.
Yeah, it's the same test with different name.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, something that the Army likes to do is like, oh, it's the same, but we're gonna change the name.
I had a question for you, sir. So, we look in our own units and we hear of the soldiers, to the left and right that we're serving with, and those that continue, for a soldier within a unit, their kind of networking may be kind of small. And so for their friends within that unit, they're only hearing the stories to the soldiers their left and right, whether they're going to continue their career in the Guard or not. But you get to hear it every day throughout the entire force. Mm-hmm. And so I guess the question is, what are you hearing right now, trend-wise, for those wanting to stay in? What are some of the main reasons in case a soldier forgets or doesn't really start to really think about what they're going to be giving up if they decide to get out?
That's a good question, especially the what are you giving up part. I'm trying to think back to this weekend. We had that's one of my slides from my class. And someone had mentioned to me, like, what are you giving up? Like if you did your time, I don't want, you don't want to like pressure someone or make them feel bad because they're getting out. If they did their time and they're proud of their service that they did, their commitment that they were, they signed up and they did their job, then good for them. And you want to celebrate that with them. If they're just ready to be done, then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But as far as like, what you could lose is, you lose like TRICARE Reserve Select, that insurance benefit. You lose the ability to transfer your benefits. You lose state and federal tuition assistance. Credentialing assistance is also something you lose, right? You have to be in serving in order to be able to use those kind of benefits for school.
Yeah.
And then recently we did a thing with the House Committee. We were trying to get state tuition assistance for dependents.
I saw that.
So if that comes into play, then
fingers crossed.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be big for the state. But also that would mean like you would be losing like a degree for your children.
Yeah.
Or your dependents. That's you want to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
or college.
Yeah. Or you're losing the money out of your pocket because now you gotta pay it, or they gotta pay it, or they gotta get a loan. So is one thing you mentioned is a TRICARE. So on this weekend on drill, when we did the money to incline with the MechBot on Sunday for our as our PT. That's good PT. That's a hell of a PT. Yeah. So shout out to the MechBot, and that was First Sergeant Smith idea, and we had a great time. And then one of the NCOs, when we were on our movement to money, I don't remember if we were going or coming back. So he was like, I had a gap. He was telling us I had a gap on 12 years in service. And somebody asked him, he's like, what? So what made you come back after 12 years of that gap? He's like, TRICARE. It's like civilian healthcare is so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that good. He's like, I can't afford that. So I came back just for the TRICARE, and he's like, I'm having a blast, having a good time here, doing stuff like this, coming to do PT and the money to incline, and so it's a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and that's another thing you mentioned. Just came to mind is, it's not just benefit, but it's also the camaraderie. That relationship you make with others. It is just something that is uncomparable. It really is one team, and moving around from a different unit to and seeing others, the way other units work and stuff like that, and it's just that camaraderie comes in its own way, and it takes time to build that trust, and then once you leave, you walk away from that. A good friend of mine, Mr. Bellotti, he had mentioned to me, we had a talk a while back, and he had mentioned to me, like, when you're deployed, you're doing, day in and day out, you're with somebody, you have that person next to you, you have that person you can go into their room and talk with them and say, hey, I'm going through this or that. But then when you get home and you get out or you move on, like, you don't have that anymore. That's something that you do lose, and it does have a big impact on people. And so that's something I also emphasize. Hey, like, there's nothing wrong with getting out. You did your time, or you're retiring. It's all good, and that's what you should do. Everyone's going to eventually have to get out.
Right. No, I'm so glad you brought that up. I think personally, dealing with individuals that are coming out of active duty or the reserves or even the Guard and coming back, that's one of their biggest is that brotherhood and sisterhood. That there are some organizations on the civilian side where it's close, but not like we have in the Guard.
Nothing like this.
Yeah.
Not at all. So there was something else that came to mind with it. Welcome packets and sponsorship packets is something that we in aviation are heavily focusing on, and I believe it's part of what we're doing across the state as well.
Yeah, what's that?
So it's basically we're just working on having this welcome packet, sponsorship program where new soldiers come into the Guard, whether it be Tri-1 ISRs or ISTs from another state, or just new to the Guard because they joined, and making them feel welcome. You have someone that they can follow. You establish an individual plan with them so that they can, see what they need to do to grow, what their next steps are for, military, career advancement, whether it be BLC or, how to get promoted, how that system works, and just simple stuff as far as like showing them around the facility.
Sure.
Like when I see people, I'll walk them around every unit, and I'll show them exactly where every unit is. I had this person from a Charlie company this last drill weekend, and he was new. He was an ISR, came from active duty, and I showed him every company, and I was like, "You're probably wondering why I'm showing you every company." And he's like, "Well, I was kind of wondering that." I was like, "It's because we're one team. You're gonna work with everybody in this battalion, and all your stuff. You're gonna always work with everybody. It's important to know where everyone is and how we operate." And to know like the entire structure, and that way they don't feel lost. That way they know where they're going. That way they know where they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to be there. So when we get new people, I always make an emphasis to inform the unit, make sure I follow up. If they reach out to me, I'll make sure that they're getting in contact with the right people. But it's really important, and it's something that's so simple that gets overlooked more often than it should.
Yeah, that's something we, I came from the reserve in Puerto Rico, and that's something we have. Like, once you get there, first drill, it doesn't matter if you're a official soldier or you just came back straight out of basic training. They give you a sponsor and they teach you around, because they like, imagine they're like they do a fallout, go have chow, and then you don't even know where the DFAC is. Right. So that's why we get that. It's like, hey, show them where's supply, where's the DFAC, where's maintenance, where's the motorboat, where's the readiness office, who's the S1. We have something called RPAC, which is the reserve. So it's like civilians that help the UAs. Okay. Or the readiness to process people. They help to update IPRMs and all that. But then we have civilians as techs. So and then they go there and it's like, hey, meet your RPAC personnel. So these people here, they're gonna help you to update any issues you have on your paperwork. Once you came back from basic, they're gonna do your in process. So once you go and come back, you already have an idea of what's going on and where you're supposed to be. So I think that program you started, Sergeant, is great.
That's great.
Yeah. It's great because that building there, even for me, I went to the training and I had to go to operations. Hey, where's the classroom where retention is having the class? I thought, right there. I'm like, okay, because I know where the classroom is, but I didn't see nobody. I'm like, is here? Where is it? Yeah. So and they told me, oh, he's right here. I'm like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I kind of explain it to, especially with new personnel. It's kind of like a complex the way our stuff is set up, because you have your main facility, the ASF, and then we have our current building, our armory is getting revamped a little bit, and then we're working out of the old ASF. So we have like 3 buildings that we work between, plus all the hangar space and the light line, and so it's pretty big, and so it can be pretty complex for someone that's never been there. To
Absolutely.
Let's say, hey, I need you to go to POL. You're gonna be like, where's that at?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, first time I went there, I think it was Sling Cargo Corporation or something like that. I don't remember. Or I don't remember if it was that or student flights. I had to be there to take pictures.
Yeah.
And I went to the older building where they parked the C-26, and they told me, oh, just walk through that and then get to that door. I'm like, I'm not supposed to walk here. I'm like, I'm not allowed to do that because it's
out of bounds.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to do anything wrong. You know,
stepped outside the yellow line.
Yeah, I don't know the left and right limits here. So I was like, he's like, yeah, keep walking. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, keep walking. I'm like, okay. But then now I have a better idea. It's been a while, and then I've been there a couple of times, and personnel there is great.
I had one more question on the retention side that maybe this is a rumor that I've heard, and maybe you can get some clarification on it, is if a soldier is in a point in their career to where they need to take a break, whether it's a family issue, whatever it is, emotional, spiritual, the list goes on, is without getting out of the Guard, is there a way they can take a break on their contract?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Can you cover that for those that may need?
So this helmet here is a good friend of mine, Staff Sergeant Charlie Ramos. Sorry. Yeah. Let me borrow his helmet for the purposes of today. So this is what we have in aviation, right? And so this individual, actually went ING for a couple of years. But I think it was 2. He had a break. He took a job where he was a civilian contractor, and he worked in Afghanistan.
Yep.
And he did that for a while, and then he did the stuff he was required to do for the ING, and then when he got back from that, he came back and continued service in the National Guard. I've seen people use it for family situations. I've seen people just be burnt out,
right?
And just be like, hey, I just need a break. But I don't want to break in service. I don't want to stop my time and get out and then risk not being able to get back in. It is a lot harder now to get back in than it was once before. So I highly recommend don't get out and to get back in, because the chances of you getting back in are a lot less than what it was before, just because of the way the systems are now these days. And so and it's highly encouraged. If you need a break, take one. If you have, significant life events or things that are happening, that is there for you to use, and that is there as a way for us to support you as an individual in serving your country, and continue service by, once that is done, once you've taken care of what you need to, you can just pick right back up where you left off and continue moving forward. Great. So.
Love to hear that.
So, that being said, that's for the people that wants a break. For the people that wants a challenge, I want to mention that we have upcoming the Special Forces Challenge. This will be on June 8th. And, go into our Instagram page. We put the QR code, get registered. This is the registration is fee is covered by us, and the program is run by SOCOM athlete, and you'll be trained. 519 will be there.
Yep.
And let's see if you have what it takes to be a special forces. I mean, again, like we have some people there that once they go, they're like, I don't think special forces is for me. We have multiple opportunities, especially like if you like aviation, we have multiple jobs there. If you like MPs, infantry, you can do something else. And last time they did Hell Day. This is a new program. It's a special forces challenge. They call it SFC. Funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new program. I think we're the second state to run it with SOCOM. First state, I think, was California.
That's great.
It's a pretty awesome challenge. It's hard, but then the quality of some of the students that go there is just, you're gonna train with the best. So if you think you have what it takes, hop in.
Yeah, there's a lot of events coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Summer is coming. There's a lot of stuff coming up. So before we go, right, we always do 2 questions, right, at the end.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Bermudez, do you have any quote, any way of thinking that you always like to share or tell your soldiers?
Piece of advice.
Anything.
Be thoughtful with what you want. There's nothing more frustrating than indecisiveness.
Yeah.
So thoroughly think through it and follow through with your plans. If I had a quote, it would be just be a nice human.
That's great.
I like that.
That is my quote. Just be a nice human, and your personality will take care of itself if you're just a nice human, kind to others.
Yeah, I like
awesome.
And then second, who would you like to see on the podcast? Anybody you want to challenge to come on?
Honestly, I'd love to see the ASF come out and talk about what they do. So Captain Shelton, specifically, if you could come out, that'd be great.
I called him out last time.
I got to rep aviation. Those are my peeps, and so definitely if we can get them out here to talk about what they do on this side of the house.
Deal.
So.
Well, Captain Sheldon, you're next. You'll be receiving a text from me because I have your point of contact. Right after the class, right? I told him, he's like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And so I remember this was like, I'll do it. I was like, okay, next Wednesday. And he showed up, So Captain Sheldon, he showed up. Sorry, Bermudez showed up. So you're next.
Turn.
You're next. Yeah. So thank you, Sergeant, for being here, sharing, coming to have a conversation. Retention is as important. I think this is my opinion, is more important than recruiting, because the amount of money that the Army puts in us get to be trained and then to be proficient in our job. Like I don't think getting a new person is wise on the financial or the way we use our taxpayers' money, because we the military pays a lot for our training. You have 4 MOSs. If we put that into money, probably we're gonna have like a stack of money here. So, but then you have it on knowledge and experiences and networking. So, that's something I think is valuable. So
absolutely,
that's why I think retention is super important.
And for any soldiers watching or listening right now, if they can't find their retention point of contact, they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yep. And my information is it's currently up on all the screens and monitors throughout the state. So,
and then we'll put it right there below you so that they can have it. Okay. And then,
like you said, Sergeant, though, for those watching, make sure you go through your proper chain of command. And if you're not getting the issues resolved there, then
Yeah.
reach out to Sergeant First Class
do you-
Bermudez.
Very important.
Do you mind the whole guard calling Sergeant Bermudez? I remember.
Right.
Hey, Sergeant, please cut that part. So thank you, Sergeant. We just have another podcast.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you
Thanks
so
for having me.
much.
It's great.
That was good.
Great work, Sergeant. Outstanding.